It is time to breathe again on the latest breath of fresh air, Shorty. So, it is me, Charles, your host for today's episode. I know you guys are probably getting tired of seeing my face, but that's all right. I hope this smile can bring a little bit of light to your Tuesday morning slash afternoon, wherever you are in America today. And I am here to ask a general question to the public out here. What exactly is an upset in sports these days? Is it when the number one ranked team gets defeated by an unranked team in college football? You would think so. I mean, if the number one team is going down to somebody who isn't known to uh, put out victories or, they're not known for being too successful, then you would think that would qualify as an upset. How about in the NFL? Is it when a team that has the best record gets beaten by a team like let's say it's the New York Jets and they rise up and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs? That would qualify as an upset, to many people. And I can understand where that comes from. But when teams that are good beat other teams that are good, that's not an upset. Not at all. So, for an example, let's go in the NFL For a second, if the Las Vegas Raiders defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, that's not an upset. A lot of people were surprised by that result. I wasn't, even though I picked Pittsburgh to win the game. I was surprised to see the Raiders win that game because the Raiders, well, they've been playing pretty good ball to begin. They did just beat the Baltimore Ravens in overtime last Monday night. More on the Ravens in a minute. But the Raiders came back and defeated the Ravens on last Monday night, 33-27, and then they came across and they beat Pittsburgh. Or came across the country and beat Pittsburgh. We know when it comes to the Raiders, the last couple of years they have began the season pretty well. They started off 6-3. I think each of the last two seasons they just haven't been able to finish. So we'll see if they can finish the season with perhaps a playoff berth. I didn't have them as one of my playoff teams on the NFL preview, but it could be possible, especially with the way this season is starting off. Doesn't look like too many teams are going to run away from others. It could happen. We'll see, but it's going to be a lot of parity going on with the league right now, as far as I can see, based off of what I've seen the first 2 weeks of the season. But the Raiders beating the Steelers, that's not an upset. How about the Tennessee Titans going to Seattle and beating the Seahawks in overtime? A lot of people were surprised by that result, based off of how the Titans looked against the Arizona Cardinals last week, and they looked really really bad against the Cardinals. I get it, but it's Tennessee is expected. They coming into the season, they were expected to perhaps contend for the Super Bowl berth in the AFC with the addition of Julio Jones joining AJ Brown, which is supposed to make things easier for running back Derrick Henry, as if Derrick Henry needs anything easier for him. But and then of course with AJ Brown and Julio Jones being paired up, then that would make things easier for the quarterback Ryan Tannehill as well. Tennessee going to Seattle and winning that game, that's not surprising because of Tennessee and how they came in with these with with some really high expectations. And Seattle, in my opinion, they're not that great. I've told you on the NFL preview, I feel like they're going to be on the way down. Yeah, Russell Wilson can play well at the beginning of the year. He hasn't finished the year off strongly the last couple of seasons. Seemed like he's kind of faded down the stretch. And Seattle's defense is still not good. So that is not an upset. We can't get caught up in how a team looks from week to week and just let that change our opinions off for what we had forecast at the beginning of the season. We made these predictions. We go in here. The beauty of making these predictions is they are on record. they are there, and it can't be taken back. So you're standing by those decisions, those predictions, and if you're wrong, then come back and say you're wrong. If you're right, you can gloat, you can talk about it a little bit, but other than that, hey, we thought the way we did at that time, let's stick with it and see how it plays out. Tennessee looked bad in week one, but it's week one. So let's let that continue to materialize. And them going to Seattle and beating the Seahawks, that's not surprising. And then finally, the Baltimore Ravens. I mentioned them earlier, getting defeated by the Las Vegas Raiders. Well, they beat the Kansas City Chiefs on the Sunday night. That is not an upset. Now, a lot of people have the Chiefs going back to the Super Bowl, which would be their third straight Super Bowl berth. But there are some good teams in the AFC. The AFC is loaded with good teams. Kansas City probably should have been beaten by the Cleveland Browns last week, but Cleveland wasn't able to hold the lead. Kansas City made some plays down the stretch and they pulled that game out. Baltimore is a good team as well. As a matter of fact, I have Baltimore winning the AFC North. And them beating Kansas City, that's not an upset. Number one, it's in Baltimore where that game was played. Baltimore's a tough place to play at. Number two, Baltimore has a good coach as well in Jim Harbaugh. And he's actually an Andy Reid disciple, who, of course, is the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. But Baltimore is not afraid of anybody, and coming to that environment on a Sunday night is tough for anybody to come out of there and win that game. Baltimore, like I said, they have a good team, and they have Lamar Jackson as the quarterback, and with him, anything is possible. The haters, the naysayers, they can say whatever they want about Lamar Jackson and him not being able to throw from the pocket, which I think that's not even accurate. I think he can throw from the pocket. Is it consistent to the point where teams are going to respect it? Yeah, that's questionable. As a matter of fact, that's probably a no because most teams would rather him throw the ball than do what he did against the Chiefs, run the ball for over 100 yards and throw the ball for around 250 yards. But that dual threat has made him be very successful in the league so far. He's been in the playoffs with the Ravens every year he has started, and he is a league MVP. When you have a guy who can play at MVP levels, anything is possible. And the Ravens beating the Chiefs is not surprising. A lot of people think it is because since Lamar Jackson has been there, they haven't beaten the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. But here it is. They pulled it out. They continue to gut it out, and they won the game. So now they're sitting at 1-1, just like the Chiefs are. Bottom line is, we really have to have a clear message on what an upset is. A good team beating another good team, that's not an upset. The upsets are when a team that is extremely good gets beaten by a team that's extremely bad. That's an upset. When you have two teams that are kind of even, it's not an upset just because people were picking this team more so than they were picking the other. Look at the teams, match them up together, spot for spot, personnel to personnel, and see which team comes out at the end as the good one there. But if it's kind of splitting hairs, if it's something that's pretty comparable to each other, that doesn't qualify as an upset. So we really need to define what an upset is. And I think it would be pretty clear just to have it as an extremely bad team beating an extremely good team. When you start trying to split hairs and blur the lines, that's when things get complicated. And things are only complicated because they want to make them complicated. They shouldn't be that hard to decide. Well, that's what I'm breathing on for today. Y'all make sure y'all check out the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel. Smash that subscribe button. And keep the likes coming on the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. The live webcast should be back later on tonight. We hope you can join us at that time. In the meantime, enjoy this shorty. And I will see y'all later on tonight. Have a good Tuesday afternoon.